All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another one, a very, very special one, Ash.
Listen, it's the start of the year. What a fantastic time to be with you guys. We are back and we are better than ever.
Definitely. Happy New Year to everyone joining us. If you're joining us for the first time, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. And
can we say Merry Christmas?
Nah, but that's in the past.
Nah, it's a bit too...
Past.
Yeah, I get you. All right.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, everyone.
All right, in today's episode, they're not ready for this one.
They're not, brother. First time ever.
First time ever.
Intro us in, bro.
In today's episode, we have the man who made all of this possible, right? This is Mr. Amar Ramith. He will intro himself, but he's essentially the CEO of TD Markets Academy, right?
When you hear the word Amar Ramith in this context, what do you think?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's funny.
No, for real. Like what do you think? In the context of what we do, our brokerage,
Yeah, there's a lot of things that comes to mind, but I think first things first, knowledge, a leader, and a powerhouse. Yeah.
Amar Ramith, for me, engine. I see engine.
Thomas the Tank.
Yeah, engine that's driving a lot of what we see.
I say Thomas the Tank because it's interesting. I think I can. I know I can. There we go.
So, Amar, please speak to us. Very first time ever with us. It's such a pleasure. It's such an honor to have you for our first episode for 2025. Thank you for showing up and for being with us here today.
No, thank you guys for putting this together. Definitely a pleasure to be here. Look forward to some interesting conversation.
Yep, and we are going to have those interesting conversations, all right? All right, so let's take it from the beginning, I think, right?
Yeah.
We're going from the past to present and future, right?
Exactly.
Let's take it from the beginning, primarily with TD Markets, right? When you started in this company, what was the vision? What is the vision for TD Markets?
Yeah.
So we can then filter it through to the present and the future.
Look, I think we're achieving a large portion of that vision already. But I just want to step back a little bit there. I just want to change a little bit of what you guys have said in your intro. It's not me that makes it all possible. I mean, it's you guys, everyone that's part of TD Markets. I think it's just the ability of everybody to consistently deliver on what they're doing, to consistently change people's lives for the better, and to provide, to a need that's desperately sought out, the exact most trusted possible product.
Yeah.
And then that speaks towards the vision. The vision has always been and will always remain to be the largest global brokerage formulated in Africa. But more to that is exactly in our core values, like to be transparent and completely diverse in everything that we do.
Yeah. And if we took just one step back, you coming into TD, maybe just 2 or 3 minutes, your history, where you started out, how you got to where you are now in terms of TD.
I think the most important thing is always understanding a bit of background, especially for TD in this context, right? Yeah. TD Markets was, I'm sure you guys know, it was formed by an educational company. Roughly this year, I think it'll be about 9 years ago that it was formed. Really a great place for, the starter trader, somebody looking to get a bit of education and then, of course, understand a bit more, but trade at the same time what they're understanding.
Yeah.
And it did get to a point where I think it had hit its ceiling for any kind of growth and so on. And
at what year was that?
That would have probably been around about 2019, 2020.
Okay.
And at the end of 2020, we as new shareholders acquired TD Markets and essentially put in a lot of resource towards achieving that vision of growth, not just from a perspective of the company, but from a perspective of what we valued as centricity towards the trading industry on a global basis, but of course starting right at home in Africa, Southern Africa, and specifically South Africa. There's a point soon after acquisition in 2020 that we realized how well appreciated the dire need of a tangible product, human element type of product
Touch, yeah.
in the online space was actually needed, and it was really taken up quite well. So fast forward a little bit, and we're now in year 4.
After the acquisition, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Year 4.
We're year 4. We just concluded year 4, and the growth has been immense. It's really been impressive to see what so many of the people that are making up TDM are contributing towards its success and growth. But more importantly, I think for many of our clients and affiliates and so on, what's even more impressive there is that they're growing with. You see clients' portfolios improving. I mean, you guys do an absolutely stellar job in terms of helping clients improve their understanding and knowledge of the dynamic environment that the market presents. But that is something that can always leave one and all. You can always sit back, and it's important to sort of maybe have a look at beginning stages and where you're at now. But also equally important is to not continue focusing on the future goals and the next steps to take to get to there.
T, do you have a question there? Because I wanted to transition into, there's a specific question that I wanted to ask pre and then post. Do you have something before we jump in?
Then go for it.
All right.
Yeah.
So our client, right, pre-acquisition, post-acquisition, maybe just some of the dynamics between the two.
Well, I think, we're in an environment where, as a business, first and foremost, we're fortunate to have a demand for the product that we offer. So pre-acquisition really is about understanding whether the client's need is properly addressed by any one of the number of products that we have. And that of course falls quite largely on like our client success teams to understand whether this client is fully understanding of the risks involved, first of all, but also is the client taking the right decision for their financial future? And that is why, as part of that acquisition, education forms a bit of a foundation. It's important in any financial decision to fully understand what you're involving yourself in to make the correct decision. So that would obviously cover pre. Post-acquisition, we're proud to say as an STP brokerage, we have no conflict with our clients.
Yeah.
So our interests are always aligned with the interests of a client. And we'd like to see that understood a bit better in the market, in the industry. I think a lot of the times with the licensing regimes and enforcement actions and statements from different regulations in different countries, consumers don't necessarily have the correct knowledge and understanding of what that means for them and what they should be doing, what they should be looking out for, when taking financial decisions. So as part of post-acquisition, we'd like to ensure that we sort of handhold every client through a journey, whether it is expanding into the cryptocurrency market, or whether you want to understand, is Bitcoin a scam? I hear that so often. And it's crazy because in the FX space, I would say the market's huge, but it's finite, right? You could speak to an elderly person and they have no idea what FX trading is.
Yes, that's true.
Yet the same person's heard something about Bitcoin.
Exactly. That's exactly true.
And more often than not, the question is always, is Bitcoin a scam?
Yeah.
So post-acquisition, it's about the continuous education. We're in a dynamic space. I said this earlier, but the market changes, the environment in which the market operates changes, regulations change. The onus lies on us as operators in the industry to educate, inform, and continuously uplift the general public, really.
100%. So post-acquisition and looking at where we are right now, especially in Africa, what would you say has been, or rather, from the acquisition to where we are right now, financial technology, right, in Africa, how would you say it has evolved to where we are right now and what you possibly see in the future?
And a lot of the time, Africa tends to be quite a decently sized hunting ground for many global entities. One, because of the size of the continent.
I was about to ask, please define for some of the guys hunting ground. So they,
I mean, you will always find a lot of global entities in the fintech space wanting to penetrate into the African market and start engaging in business in the African market. But to answer your question more appropriately, I think in Africa, the fintech space it's vastly underutilized. If you look at regions like Cape Town, if you look at regions like Nairobi, look at regions even Lusaka, there's so much of knowledge and resource towards development in the technology space of the financial industry. We don't necessarily need to have external entities operating in the environment.
we can do it ourselves.
We can do it ourselves. We can genuinely provide the best for the market locally, but not just for the market locally. I mean, expanding further out than that.
What is that delay though, Amar? Like, why are we not keeping up with what's being given to us in your specific view?
I think it's understanding and education that's a really, really critical factor. Because again, to go back to the Bitcoin is a scam comment, let's look at the most active markets for cryptocurrencies. If you look at the North American market, it's one of, if not the most active. There are significantly higher volumes of engagement and transacting in the digital currency space because people tend to grasp the concept and understand it a lot quicker. We don't incubate fast enough in Africa. I think a lot of the times we try to develop something and create this massive business entity out of it without fully understanding that there needs to be a high level of literacy passed off onto that same consumer market that you intend to operate in. And if that literacy is not at the level of understanding for transparent engagement with every client, you're never going to have the engagement. And I think this is what causes that delay.
So it's more education for you and not perhaps what other people might say, the third world psychology biscuit that's been given to Africa, that's seeped into the minds of people and it's become our culture. So we have the education, we're intelligent enough, but because we think third world, we think we are the third, fourth best in the world, and it's Europe, it's the West, it's the East that's performing better than us. You don't think that also plays a part in why we're not really getting to where we are?
What's your definition of third world?
Underdeveloped, infrastructure, it still needs to, get to a place where it keeps up to what is happening out there already when it comes to the US, the superpowers mainly.
So why is it that skill and resource out of, let's take South Africa, is so heavily demanded in what you would deem the first world?
Hence I'm asking because I don't understand the delay. We have all the skills, we have intelligence, but it's like to your point, we're not there yet. So I'm very interested in the delay because I don't understand it 1,000% yet. Why the delay is there, even though we can bring up stuff and say this could be it. Are those the only things that you would say?
Globalization plays a impact in that, right? If you look at it from a perspective of, hey, would you prefer to wear, a highly recommended fashion designer's, piece of clothing in South Africa, or would you choose an Italian designer? And you may be correct to a certain extent. I think it's historical psychology, but also that exists in the space of marketing control, isn't it? Because you don't really perceive the value unless you're taught the value. So again, it still boils down to education and the responsibility of creating literacy of understanding.
So that seems like a major challenge and a problem, especially in Africa. Are there some of the challenges that maybe you have seen in the space in Africa that maybe you felt like this could have been dealt in a certain way or been looked at a different angle?
I think it's the approach. So yes, there is definitely. I agree. There is something that could have been done differently. Or things that can be done differently, consistently. I'll use Zambia as an example. We recently launched our presence in Zambia.
Yes.
It should not be dealt for example, if we operate in that market, it should not be that we're doing things differently and at a lower level because it's a market that's underdeveloped comparatively to maybe South Africa.
Yeah.
We should address it in the exact same way because that is a market that is as hungry for the same need.
So you're saying pull them out of if they were in a slump.
That's it.
Pull them out, yeah.
It's about first and foremost creating the understanding that your access is exactly the same as someone who is in a region that you might perceive to
Got
be,
you.
at a better ranking of world space. You have the same access. You have the same educational opportunity. You have the same support towards it. So psychologically, why aren't you making use of the opportunity presenting itself?
Got you. Are you a big believer of be the first? That whole concept, be the first, be the first.
To a certain degree, yeah. I think that speaks largely to like Steve Jobs, right? Be first to market. But being the first would require a lot of work before being the first. You can't be the first with a semi-polished offering or a really an unthought out process. Being the first requires significant resource to be there. So I can support the understanding, but again, that is something that you attribute towards the deployment of the right people. Having people who want to be the first and are willing to do everything it takes to get there. But being the first doesn't necessarily mean you always win.
Yeah.
Being the best is really what it takes.
We actually, we have so many questions for our CEO. Right?
Now, I'd like to just expand on that. Now, with that concept, be the first, I want to take it back to the challenge we are experiencing in Africa, right? Of the delay you spoke about. Do you think if I'm thinking that in anything I want to be the first, do you think that there's a bit of fear that comes with being the first to do something? Hence, we've got the delay in Africa that you just spoke about there.
No, that I think that's fully accurate. There is the fear that always exists, but fear is as a result of inability to accept risk. And if you accept risk and you calculate risk within an acceptable level to accept,
to accept, risk to accept,
then your fear subsides.
Gotcha. So you spoke about the right people that you have to get on. That was actually the wild card that I wanted to throw, but you actually pulled it out already. You mentioned at FMS the word killer. You have to be a killer. And it was before we went to FMS. We spoke as a team, and you spoke to us, and those were some of the words that you had echoed in our corridors, right? What do you use when you identify an individual, or when you look at them, or what makes it known to you that this one is a killer, and I want this one on my team?
It's difficult to say at face value, like, okay, this is what makes a person something specific, because character, personality, thought process, they all play a role in that.
Gotcha.
And it sounds so cliche, but like first impressions are important, because that's a defining moment where you're defined. Okay, thou shalt not judge, but you will be judged every day. Your interaction with every single person leaves you with an impression. Or leaves that person with an impression of you. And I mean, that is exactly, how you determine whether somebody sort of checks off the right box for you. I mean, if you look at TD, we're a relatively young company. I'd like to say, I think the average age is probably around about 31. Around about. Yet we're quite pioneering in everything that we do. One would think, okay, with age comes more experience and wisdom and so on. But look at the fintech environment. I mean, some of the biggest companies on earth, Meta, Apple, Microsoft, they were very young individuals who created this absolute, beast of an entity. And we're in the same space. You have all these young minds who are super innovative, who are very energetic about what they're doing. And that is what is creating growth, and that is what is creating pioneering moments in what we do. Like, I mean, pretty soon we'll be launching, I don't know if you guys have spoken about it yet, but we will be launching the TDM exchange for the cryptocurrency market.
Boom, there we go.
Boom. There we go.
There we go.
Boom. That is a popo actually.
We're going to definitely give one.
Yeah.
But I mean, we will be launching this over the next 2 weeks, I think. We should be live. And the reality on that exists that is targeted at, anyone and everyone who wants to become part of, what the cryptocurrency movement in just the transactional environment even is.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a super speculative trader. You don't have to understand the absolute depths of, fund management and technical analysis, which I know you guys love.
Okay. To be fair, we do a hybrid here.
I mean, we could draw some lines and,
Just mention
Some butterflies.
some boats,
Yeah, I mean, really, all you need to do is, understand a bit about where the world of money is moving to, and decide you'd like to, put some of your hard-earned savings in a space where you could speculate some kind of growth, or even if you didn't want to speculate, you could acquire exposure to a foreign currency via its digital asset, i.e., a stable coin.
Yeah.
And all of that is, possible on an exchange.
Exactly.
With TD Markets. But yeah, I don't know if that really answers.
No, it does. Do you have elevator pitch?
Do I have elevated pitch?
Elevator pitch.
Elevator pitch.
Yeah,
I've tried to ask Tsepo to sell me something once, actually, some time ago.
I've been working on something.
And I did.
Okay.
I believe.
Do you want to go?
No, continue.
Do you want to go?
But
Because
I believe I sold whatever I was talking about.
yeah, look. Okay. To be fair, in terms of hardcore selling, Amar asked me one time to do an elevator pitch. Hey man, I fumbled, man. But I've been working on that sucker though a little bit. So if I got into an elevator, or when I do now, I just ask the person, to which floor are you going? And that's it. Once I ask that question, it opens up the pipes.
It opens up, yeah.
That's it, and it's under 10 seconds. To which floor? Floor 7. and you, floor 12. What do you do up there? TD Markets, financial service provider. That's it. And it works every time.
Interesting. That's a nice one. I haven't heard that in the past. Yeah.
So fast forward, present, Amar, in the future, what are we looking at? Let's say the next 2 to 3 years, just a little bit of a nugget, TD Markets moving in that direction.
I'll give you guys a couple of nuggets.
Okay.
Within the next quarter, TD Markets will have expedited presence in some of the biggest economies in Africa. Kenya, I will let you know that we will be very largely operational in that market very soon. We've had a lot of commendation of what we're doing and how we do it. But further to that, I obviously don't want to tell you too much.
Okay, at least a quarter of it. At least a quarter. Doesn't have to go all the way, a quarter of it.
So we are working quite largely in the development space for digital currencies. One of the most important ones is stablecoin development. We're working with some of the larger foundations, in other countries to support the technology and the blockchain technology around it. I think that would give us quite a large again, pioneering moment for an FX broker to really expand out in the space. Of course, there are any number of very large entities in the digital currency or virtual asset environment at this point. But the FX broker space is obviously, it's a little bit tangential to that. And what we are very hard and fast intentional on is really breaking through the space quite quickly. Which, of course, would show the strength towards which we develop and innovate, which reflects very largely on our people and the capability of, what we can provide to the everyday man out there, or woman, of course.
So I mean, because we know you're extremely busy, Amar, maybe just to round it up, in terms of, let's just bring it back to the present. In terms of our progress, we're pioneering. We are a relatively young company. what else would you plug in that could drive us in that sprint discussion we had, drive us into that 60 meter, 80 meter sprint really, really quick at this point in time to get to our 2-3 year goals?
You know, what we have at TDM is very important because we have some of the most pristine products, some of the best trading environments for any client. But like I say this quite often to like some of our managers, you know, you have a gold bar and you need to convince somebody that, well, it's really a gold bar and you can have this, you know, for the price of a silver bar. But the onus lays on the awareness that's created out there. And I think it's super important what you guys do as well, because the expediter towards our growth is always the awareness and the education of people for why and how we can be so beneficial to their objectives. Because without somebody understanding what is good for them, they will never understand that you can provide that good.
Got you.
Again, going back to that gold bar, if I were to convince you to buy a gold bar from me for significantly less than it's valued, you would always initially ask the question, why? But it's my job to make you understand why I'm actually doing this for you.
Gotcha.
And why we are actually doing this is because the FX industry, the cryptocurrency industry, created a very large interest globally. And, you know, it created that interest where it permitted the entrance of, you know, the entities who unfortunately, you know, led to the demise of, you know, financial statuses and, you know, life savings and so on of many, many people, thousands of people. If you look at, like, for example, MTI, one of the largest cryptocurrency collapses or scams in the world, and it originated here. So now that the market has been sort of a little bit shied away, it's heavily on our shoulders as a transparent and an ethical entity to make you understand why you weren't taking the wrong decision. You were just unfortunately duped into the wrong space for that decision.
Got you. Become a transparent, diverse voice at this point in time on what we already have. T, anything else on your side, brother?
Yeah, I mean, you spoke about just, you know, wrapping it up, but I just want to take it back a little bit, right? The previous elections in the US, we saw the surge in the price of cryptocurrency with the outcome, right? Are we still looking at, in your view, still looking at Bitcoin breaching that 100,000 and possibly going higher?
Of course. But then I'm going to ask you the question, do you want me to draw it out on a chart? Or do you want me to give you what the fundamental story behind this is?
I think the fundamentals. I mean, we've been doing the clouds and the bolts, fundamentals, so yeah.
Look, fundamentally, I think cryptocurrency is here to stay. I'm one of those that hold the flag quite high for cryptocurrencies. And you guys know this by now.
Yeah.
No, but it's also very important for people to understand that like cryptocurrencies will not always have that large boom in growth. You know, it might just be like any other instrument. If you look at you know, things like your indices or even the equity market, there is consistent growth. Sometimes you have you know, dips in the market and so on, but this holds true for the cryptocurrency space as well. But I mean, it's super important to also understand like the background behind the cryptocurrency you might be investing in. Sure. You know, you don't want to invest in a meme coin, which is pretty much a rug pull, and you know, all of a sudden, well, the person who created it was the largest holder of the coin.
Pulls out,
and well, I mean, you're left with no value in what you own.
Yes.
So understanding the coin, understanding the research, the purpose behind it,
and the regulation thereof behind it, all of
regulation is always important. But start with the white paper. You know, what was something designed for? You know, there's any number of cryptocurrencies that are of low value right now, but were designed for specific purposes. So their growth would be more tangible, consistent, and realistic. But to answer your question on Bitcoin, we'll probably clear that 100 without any issues.
Yeah. We're trading close to it now.
Yeah. And it's really a game changer for all the other guys that are coming. It's really making its way up there. Your Ripples, your Dogecoin, yeah. So it's really making a way for those guys as well.
Look, some of the smaller altcoins really actually hold more transactional value because they have low value. It's easier to process transactions,
Exactly.
Understand value behind it. Bitcoin is really, of course, it's in some instances considered the father of it.
Yes, I gave birth to all of you guys, kind of a thing.
So of course it's quite a titan, but
Yes.
I suppose it'll clear over the 100 when Tsepo executes his buy order.
Definitely.
That's an inside one for all of you guys tuning in right there.
Definitely. All right. Yeah.
All right, so I think I think we wanted to get what we needed.
Yeah.
I think we got what we needed.
We got and more actually.
More. You guys heard it here first, guys. It's our first podcast with the CEO of TD Markets. That's Amar Ramith. It's an absolute pleasure once again, sir, having you on our podcast. What a pleasure.
Oh, it's been awesome being here, guys.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Keep up what you guys are doing. Like I say, the onus lays on your shoulders largely to create awareness of what we do and why what we do is beneficial to society at large, really.
Yeah. T, you want to take us out there, brother?
Yeah, no, guys, it has been a good one, a fruitful one. I hope you guys took some nuggets, a lot of nuggets out of this. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share and comment down
There we
below.
go.
Let's get the engagement rolling, all right? We are also across all social media platforms.
There we go.
But from us, I think that's it for now.
That's it.
Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll catch you guys on the
Remember
next
one thing, guys.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good day.
To
It's a good
make
day
some money. See you guys soon.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Yeah.